Welcome to the Round 1 Injury Update presented by AA Vitality. I'm Jarrod Wade, High Performance Manager of the Collingwood Football Club. So leading into Round 1, the main issues coming out of the pre-season so far, so we've got Harvey Harrison, who we know had an interrupted last year with a bit of hamstring troubles towards the back end of the season. And he's had a couple of interruptions over the course, not as far as specific injuries, but just as far as not being able to complete the full training loads at the intensity that we want. So he's been a bit delayed, especially towards the back end of this pre-season. He's been sort of in and out of rehab running on the sidelines and integrating into skills, and we're just managing his workloads. So he's not quite ready to go right now, but he's not far away. Did some match play on Friday last week. And then pulled up pretty well from that. But again, we're managing the amount of work that he's doing this week, so he's unavailable for this weekend's game. But we're hopeful that by round 2 or 3 that he'll be available for some sort of match time on the weekends. So that's Harvey. And then Finn McRae's the other one that's had a pretty interrupted pre-season. He came back, and early in pre-season he had some back issues. Some scans revealed some very, very minor stress reactions in there. So they're not stress fractures, they're reactions. So that caused him to deload over the Christmas break, and then we've had to build his loads back up again. He's full training at the moment, so he's really, really close. He completed his contact at the end of last week and did some match play last week in our match sim session with the AFL squad. And he'll build up his loads and then be aiming towards be available round 2 or 3. Into our long-termers, so we know Krug's had that shoulder injury last year and then came back and he injured the other shoulder in pre-season. This is reasonably common with these kind of athletes, where one shoulder gets injured and the other one might happen soon after. Obviously we don't hope that it happens, but it did with Krug's. He completed surgery and he's actually tracking really well at the moment, Krug's, and we're being able to push him right on the threshold of his workload at the moment, which is really, really positive because it means that we'll have a really good a quick turnaround for him within those time frames that are set out by the surgeon and the doctors. So it'll be sometime after the Anzac Day game, so around 5 to 8. We'll be able to update further as we get closer to that game on how he's progressing, because we're yet to start contact work with Krug's. He's at the moment in rehab running and doing all of his weight training. Once we start the contact work, we can sort of narrow down those timeframes on a return to play for Krug's. The other one's obviously Lipinski. Now, he had shoulder surgery at the end of last year, completed full pre-season, which was the really unfortunate one because he was around about 90% training completions over the course of the pre-season for Lipper. And then obviously down in Launceston in the Hawthorn game, had another incident, and then that same shoulder that we had surgery on popped out. It's different to what he had last year. So last year he was able to play and complete training and all those kinds of things throughout the season. This one actually popped out and dislocated. So it's a different type of surgery. It's quite unique, that presentation, to have someone that's had surgery and then have someone pop out. So we were really, really diligent early on, got the scans done, and we went down the right path of having to get surgery done. We couldn't treat this one conservatively as we sometimes do with shoulders. So he's had that surgery done. He's started the rehab process, but it's very light at the moment. He's in the sling, and he'll come out of the sling over the coming fortnight and get into some higher level rehab, but it'll be post-bye for Lipper, and unfortunately that was one of the casualties of the pre-season. And then the other one was Charlie Dean, and we know that last year again he was really interrupted with this foot. So he had a foot injury at the end of pre-season, and then he came back and played a couple of VFL games and then had another foot injury. And we know from the history that these foot injuries are quite tricky, and unfortunately Charlie, again, he was at around about 75% training completion over the course of the pre-season, which was all going according to plan, and then he had some soreness in his foot, and then we sent him off for scans, and again he's got a very, very minor this time foot injury in that 5th metatarsal. Again, the history shows us these ones are difficult, so we're really, really diligent with this, and we had some follow-up investigations and got a lot of external people involved in this one, so surgeons from both Sydney and Melbourne and universities and foot specialists and all these kinds of things, and we've gone down a course of action with a follow-up surgery for Charlie, and that's going to help maybe realign some of the things that are happening in his feet to prevent this from happening in the future. So he's had that surgery done. He's in a moon boot at the moment. He'll be in that moon boot for about 2 or 3 weeks. But that's going to unfortunately rule him out for the season at this stage. So we just have to pick up the pieces and get to work with Charlie when he comes out of that moon boot. And we've got some really clear goals set out for him over the course this year to hopefully have him fit and firing for a full pre-season come 2024. And that's all for the Round 1 Injury Update.